Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Quest Me, brought to you by Twist My Arm Podcast. This is, of course, the podcast that takes you on a quest through Star Wars Legends and new canon. My name is Josh. I am your host and forever friend, and this season we are taking you through Skeleton Crew, the new Disney Plus show that stars Jude Law and a bunch of kids. It was written by John Watts and Christopher Ford. I feel like we didn't ever touch that on these last few episodes, so we'll dive a little bit more into the directors and stuff here in a minute. But they've done a fantastic job so far, and I feel like I feel like they're finally gonna stick the landing of a show. I mean, hopefully, we'll see. But Justin, what do you think? Do you think they're gonna stick the landing to this show?
To wrap it up, I really hope so. It's been a great Goonies show, so I feel like it's got to end on a strong note.
Sure. Phil, do you want them to wrap up this show, or do you want them to go on for another season or two?
I would be perfectly content to have this be a one-off. I don't think the premise could hold for more than a single season without it getting really, really convoluted really fast. Like, oh no,
Sure.
we have another pirate mystery to solve.
All right, that's fair.
I love seeing these kids. I love seeing their adventures. But I don't think that with the current setup that it really warrants more than a single season.
All right, that's fair. Welcome to the show, guys. I wanted to do introductions a little differently this week. I feel like that was kind of fun, so thanks for
Oh
being here.
God, here we go.
Pretty much.
Start off with a
Throwing you
question.
straight into the fire. As I mentioned before, though, this show was written by Christopher Ford and John Watts, who I believe John Watts does a lot with Spider-Man. He was the director of No Way Home, which was my favorite. I think of the three, I think No Way Home was my favorite. I loved seeing Tobey Maguire and
That was the third
Andrew Garfield back. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh yeah,
And he actually directed all of the MCU Spider-Man things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And it looks like Christopher
he did
Ford.
Homecoming and Far From Home too.
Okay, and Christopher Ford looks like he wrote those movies.
Okay,
Or at least he wrote
something?
Homecoming. Yeah.
You want a real quick local fun fact?
Ooh,
Yeah, let's hear
it. John Watts was born here in just adjacent to Colorado Springs. He's from Fountain.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Local-ish kid.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Nice. Hey, the more you know, right? I feel like there's a lot of people out of Colorado these days, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
This episode in particular was directed by Jake Schreier, who is also he directed Thunderbolts. So I'm curious if this was like I don't know,
tacked on to kind of connected deal.
Yeah, like if I'm gonna direct Thunderbolts, I want a Star Wars. Who knows? But Skeleton Crew in a whole, like it's been a good time. I've really enjoyed all of these episodes so far. Last week, as we talked about, was a little bit of a filler, but this week really picked it up, and we really got into a little bit more of the meat of the story and what's going on. So, Justin, what were your initial impressions like right after you finished this episode?
Are you talking about how I thought it was baloney that you believed John could have been Sith influenced? Or
no, this is the same question I ask you every single episode.
Oh, yes. I didn't want you to get too self-absorbed. But
no.
The episode started off fairly good. It got into the parents and the background of what is going on. We'll speak to that a little bit later. Then it just jumped into a luxury liner treasure planet kind of thing. It was very deceiving because Smee was talking about how it's this deadly planet, and then you see yuppies at a spa. But it was fun. Once they got into the nitty gritty, you meet some new characters. You see them go into the Renaud's booby traps, and it felt a lot. This one felt even more like a Goonies movie. Like towards the end, they're getting chased by the pirates or the enemies, and then they have to audible at the end. So I really, really liked this episode. So far, it's my favorite to date.
Okay. Phil, would you agree with that? Is this your favorite episode to date?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It's
definitely the best episode to date, I would say, for sure.
It was fun. Like the whole series so far has been fun, but this was the most kind of we're gonna go on on an actual adventure kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nods to things like the Goonies also made me think a lot of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, just digging past all the booby traps and things. So
yeah, for sure. I thought the same thing. The booby traps. Yeah. Speaking of going on an adventure, before I read the synopsis, we have to ourselves go on an adventure. And by adventure, of course, I mean we're going to a bar far away where Phil tells us what we're drinking tonight. So take it away, Phil.
All right. Well, in keeping with tradition for the kid-friendly series, I started things off with a non-alcoholic option. This is a delightful riff on the classic Shirley Temple. I call this one a Jedi Temple because why wouldn't I?
Clever.
Okay. This is a half ounce each of grenadine and blueberry syrup, and then it's just topped off with 7-Up. I did manually stack those ice cubes. I'm afraid my force abilities were not quite where I wanted them to be to get all 3 of them in there.
Manually stacked the ice cubes?
I know.
Dang,
I know. Master so disappointed. But then it's garnished with a couple of cocktail cherries, and the detailing on it didn't work out as well as I had hoped it would. I did make a stencil of the Jedi crest while I was at work today. You might recall that back when we were doing Andor, I did an Imperial insignia in toasted sugar on a lemon slice. I tried to do the same thing with the Jedi insignia on a lime slice for this one, and it's in there, but the sugar design, the design did not stay as intact as I would have liked it to be. That is a very upside down Jedi crest.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah,
you definitely see it.
So, yeah, no, I mean, you can see the sugar toasted on there, but the design did not stay. I gotta tweak my technique a little bit for that one. And then I actually have something here inspired by our lovable Jod. Because
from the drink that he
is handed what is very obviously a margarita glass when he walks into the spa at Lanupa.
Yeah, I love that.
So I have done a bit of a margarita riff that is inspired by Jod, Silvo, Dash, whomever.
Whatever his name is, Dash.
I call this one Lanupa Shore Leave. This is 1.5 ounces of Jose Cuervo Silver. So Silvo tequila.
Ooh.
1.5 ounces of Monte Alban Mezcal. It's a Oaxacan mezcal, and so you get kind of that smoky, ashy flavor like he was talking about his home world a couple episodes ago.
Oh, yeah.
1.5 ounces of lime juice, and then 1 ounce of Cointreau, and 1/2 ounce of blue curacao to finish off the orange component. but to give it that delightfully blue color.
Nice. Delightfully blue. I love that.
And then the
Wonderful.
The glass, I did a rim that is a combination of Himalayan pink salt, because spa day, and
Duh.
tahine, because just a little
All
extra
right.
kick. Yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
always drink responsibly and enjoy.
Of course. I actually came prepared today. My
Ooh.
girlfriend made me a little I don't have a clever name for it because I just got it like 10 minutes ago. But it's basically a martini espresso. It is 1 shot of Kahlua, 1 shot of vodka. It's got dark coffee, dry shake, wet shake, strain, garnish with cinnamon.
Nice.
I don't know what dry shake means or wet shake. What does that mean?
Dry shake is shaking a cocktail in a shaker without ice in it. It is usually done with things with like egg white and whatnot in them to get it kind of foamy before you start chilling it. Versus a wet shake, which is one done with ice cubes in the shaker tin. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm not a bartender.
It's okay. I'm a librarian.
Yeah, and it's funny. We're here to talk about Star Wars, but first we have to go on a bar
hop.
like a bar hop or a go on a little bit of training, I guess. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it's delicious, and I needed some coffee. I haven't drank an energy drink in 2 days. I'm trying to not drink them, but it's hard.
See, and now I just have the Jedi drinking song in my head.
Things will kill you, man.
I realize that. I get it. So anyway, thank you for taking us to a bar far away. And of course, like Phil said, always drink responsibly when you are drinking, and usually watch Star Wars when you're drinking because it's a lot of fun. So this week was episode 5 of Skeleton Crew. It was called "You Have a Lot to Learn About Pirates," which so far every single episode they have quoted the name of the episode in each episode. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Someone at some point in time quotes what it is. Where it's like it does the Family Guy thing where it's like, there, he said it. Or no, it's Leo. It's Leo DiCaprio when he points at the screen and like, yeah. But this one, it was kind of, it seemed like everyone learned about pirates this episode. So here's my synopsis. On this week's episode of Skeleton Crew, we are taken to a place where fearsome, bloodthirsty buccaneers don't even dare to visit. Yet, pleasure yachts full of banking clan members and bounty hunters are filling the skies. Of course, I'm talking about the Demon's Rest, or Battle World, or Lanupa?
It goes by many names.
Anyway, what treasures will we find on Lanupa? And how far is Jod willing to go to obtain this treasure? He got a nice little spotlight this episode. And it kind of makes you wonder where his motivations actually lie. I did want to, I mean, speaking of Jod, he does all the adults in the show act just like kids. It's like the show is made. It's like they're. It's how do I say this? They're definitely making sure that you know the show is made for kids, because like the younger crowd loves these episodes. They love it when the adult gets asked to show his hand. No, sir, the other hand. Both hands, please. And anyone that has any kids, whether it be your own kids or stepkids, you know how that goes. That conversation, you've had it more than once.
Yep.
And it's just kind of driving that point home, which I'm all for. But do you think they're trying too hard? I'm speaking specifically for the adult fans. Do you think the jokes are too kid friendly, or that the series is trying to be too kid friendly?
Absolutely not.
No, I think they've managed to like legitimately hit the nail on the head for what they were aiming for. They got it. They got a kid-friendly Star Wars show, and it's still fun for the adults. It's not like any of us are bored during any of these episodes.
Sure.
The humor, the action, it's all pretty well balanced, and it reminds me of how I thought of Star Wars when I was a kid.
Okay, that's fair. That's I like that sentiment actually, because it's very reminiscent of watching it as a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm still laughing at those jokes.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it still makes me giggle. And the people that don't laugh are jerks.
Little things like wandering around on Endor. R2 whistles and 3PO says, "No, R2, I don't think it's pretty here." It's little shit like that. It's like, no,
Yeah.
this is fun.
Yeah. And Justin, you said absolutely not. So you're all in on this, huh?
I wouldn't say it's like we've been talking about. It's tuned for little kids, and so they're trying to make the humor that way, and present the adults as being funny and harmless. Like, I think it's doing a very good job relating this material to a younger audience.
Plus, we are reigniting the fear of acid for a whole new generation of kids.
Damn. Let's just talk about that scene real quick. That was savage. I did not expect Jod to just be like, you know what?
Can we do that? Can we refill the? Yeah,
So
yeah.
Does that mean Jaleel White is gone?
Gunter?
He's dead? Yeah, do you think he's dead now, or?
I don't know that he's dead. He might need to be slightly more cyborg than he was before. But
He probably sent in the Goonies first, or his lackeys.
Okay. I guess that would make sense.
But I hope like 2 of them died.
It sounded like a few of them did. There was a bunch of screams, and it was more than 1 or 2 people.
That's some concentrated.
it was the very, very, the stereotypical Disney villain death, though. It's all off screen. You never actually see anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it was pretty solid.
They could come back. Maybe one.
Unlike those characters.
Yeah. I liked seeing the bones in the bottom of the pit of acid.
That was a great touch. It was like, okay, no, you're not the first person to say, "Oh, what if we just wade in?"
Right. But also, wouldn't bones like fry in acid?
Yes. Depending on the acid.
Okay. So, what do you mean by depending on the acid? There's different acids that would just burn skin and not bone?
I'll let you take this one, Phil.
It would depend on like the concentration of the acid and how long they were actually in there.
Oh, okay. So those could be very recent bones then.
But yeah, or they could have been there for a while and the bones were still just there, but without anything to agitate the acid, they might not have actually like broken down from that point.
Okay. I'm not a scientist. Damn it, Jim.
I mean,
I'm a podcaster, not a scientist.
I don't necessally feel like going off to go Google like how long it takes for acid.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I get
it. Here's the thing: if they made it realistic, if they touched the bone and it shattered or disintegrated, that's true acid right there.
Okay.
Broke down already.
But
right.
like bone is a significantly different like density and whatnot versus like flesh,
skin, meat, muscle.
Even with cremation, there's still usually big chunks of bone that have to go into a grinder to break them up after.
Didn't know that one.
Yeah. Caitlin Doty, The Good Death, wrote a book called Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. It's a memoir of her time working in a crematorium, and it's amazing.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah. She also wrote a book for kids called Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs, and it's spectacular.
The answer is yes.
Yes, it is, but not right away. Anyway, speaking of cats, did anyone else notice that Tack Renaud is Cat Donner backwards?
No.
I didn't until about 10 minutes ago. So
What's the significance of that?
Yeah, is there any
none
significance to
whatsoever.
All right.
okay.
None whatsoever. It's just it's just falling into the jokes of how do you come up with Star Wars character names.
Huh.
Fair point.
I mean, but yeah,
Well,
Renaud is Donner backwards. If you want to read into that, think of like Donner Party and just their eventual fate. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be
Yeah,
nothing. I
there's
maybe
nothing.
just,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't see anything on
I don't-
Google at first glance, so.
Oh no, I don't either.
But I'm gonna look into it now. Cat Donner, that's interesting. Donner Cat, I don't know. Tack Renaud, though.
Donner Kebab.
That was a very interesting scene when Jod discovers that this is the Onyx Cinder, and this is like he got giddy.
He fanboys.
He was like,
Yes,
he
he did.
does.
He fanboys so hard. It's adorable.
Yeah, I loved that. I've seen some things online that kind of are interesting to me, that they blurred out the captain's picture because obviously they don't want us to know who it is yet. But the theory is that the captain is actually SM-33.
Ooh.
That he is the captain of the Onyx Cinder, but he doesn't know about it or something like that.
His memory thing.
Like his memories,
If
like he
somebody
wiped his own
overrode his
memory.
memory. Ooh.
I mean, they do have the similar voice and affect when the hologram did show up.
A little bit.
That's a fun theory. I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, especially because he was talking about how they all crashed at Atten, and everybody died. If the captain was the droid, then everybody around him would have died, except for him. So it's a very interesting theory. I would love it if it was just the actor that's playing.
If it's just Nick Frost.
Yeah, just Nick Frost is the captain. And he like transfers his, consciousness into SM-33 or something like that.
You're going solo on us there.
Kinda.
A little bit.
Kinda. But I love that theory that's been floating around, and I think it would make it very interesting, to say the least. But yeah, let's move on. There was a lot of things going on in this episode. A lot of Easter eggs and a lot of just kind of story going on. The adults at the beginning,
Wendell's so bad at trying to sneak around. It's adorable.
He is. And I mean, they're all just bad at it. All of them are.
Well, they never had to.
Right. And they're learning how to be sneaky like a pirate.
Sneaking around like little kids, though. It's cute. It really is.
I know. It's terrible. It's so bad. And then the kids are learning, just to kind of reiterate the name of this episode, but the kids are learning about pirates, about how they value money more than they value life. You're learning that Jod actually has bounties out for him from pirates, because they don't mess around. He's learning about pirates still. So
Brutus set the bounty.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, a lot of learning going on from everyone. But this episode was full of just comedy. We already talked a little bit about it, but this was just comedy gold the whole time. So many laughs. Them flying in to Lanupa, and SM-33 is just like, nobody comes to this planet, and blah, blah. And then John's like, are those pleasure yachts?
Yeah. Looks like the Lady Luck is there.
Yeah, they ruined it.
Yeah, dude, and just the whole episode, him and his little quips the whole time. Food for weaklings. Like all the shit that he said was just great. Just good, fun, funny times. I think the bonding moment between Jod and Wim were really cool. When they were on the ship. Justin, what did you think about that? Because there was a pretty cool callback in that moment.
The attachments quote, I think you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
I thought it was a great touch. It reminded me of Qui-Gon Jinn in episode 1 when they have a little conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what led me to think that he was ultimately like a fallen Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah, no, just coming right out and basically quoting Qui-Gon Jinn.
It was
verbatim.
exactly exactly what Qui-Gon said.
That was good.
Yeah. It kind of made you think about what kind of training he could have actually had. Maybe he trained with Qui-Gon. He might be old enough to be like, if he was a youngling in the Jedi Temple before the Empire took over, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He could have been
There's
a
a
teenager at
possibility.
that point. Like maybe he was actually training, maybe Qui-Gon was like a math teacher, a Jedi math teacher.
And gave that
He would
quote to
just
everyone.
Yeah, he would just always, they'd have their little Jedi desks, and he'd come in. All right, guys. Attachments.
Today's
I can't do
attachments.
Liam. But I'd like to think that Jod has some connection to the old Jedi Temple. With his end scene, which obviously we can't talk about that quite yet. There is a little bit of questionable things there. But I think ultimately he's more of a light side user than he is a dark side user.
Just because of that quote, or do you have any other evidence?
I think I don't have any evidence. It's just it's a feeling I have. I have a feeling. A bad feeling, but it's a feeling. Speaking of like comedy in SM33, I thought of, as they're walking through the whole planet and he's just mumbling under his breath, it really reminded me of toxic Star Wars fans. Like SM33 just represents every toxic Star Wars fan as he's walking through. Like, they ruined it. Oh, this is food for weaklings. Oh, I hate this. This is so terrible. Meanwhile, everything is just awesome. It's just a wonderful luxury island that has a ton of things to offer. He just hates it. So
It's just not what it's such a. All of his expectations have been subverted since they got to Lanupa. And nothing is going the way he wanted it to go, and so he's pissed off about it.
Sounds like a group of fans I know. But yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. I really enjoyed it. That whole thing. I did get. What was I? Where was I at? Oh, we talked a little bit about Indiana Jones earlier. We were kind of going to touch on that. This was very Indiana Jones, with going through all the booby traps and then getting to the big room of treasure. And even in the room of treasure, there's a booby trap. And I enjoyed that. I also really enjoyed the music of this episode. It's all so very piratey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is a pirate show, right?
And stringy. It is a pirate show. Yes.
But here's my question for you guys: which one was your favorite booby trap? Because I could think of like 4.
I mean, we already did the penitent man shout out with the laser beam, but I think I think the anti-gravity pit trap is probably my favorite.
Oh yeah, that was sweet.
Don't
Yeah.
touch the light or you get sucked up and stabbed.
Yeah, I did like
I'm
the
just
laser beam, but I liked it because of the scene that it was.
yes.
Because the beam just goes directly
Oh,
above all
the
the
top
kids'
of the
heads,
kids.
and they're like,
That was lucky.
yeah,
Uh, and just going back to Indiana Jones, I'm now just thinking of the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where you have Harrison Ford and Alfred Molina, who are now both also in Star Wars, looking at booby traps as they're making their way in to get the idol.
yeah. Oh, that's funny. I forgot that was Alfred Molina.
Yeah. What
Huh.
a
Totally forgot about
yeah,
that.
one
Shout out.
scene at the very beginning of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But
Um.
but I could do the cameos and things all day.
Oh yeah. And Star Wars now is just chock full of cameos.
It is.
This episode had a couple cameos. They weren't like the biggest cameos. But they were there. Sorry, I got a new desk, and so I'm struggling with my mic tonight. It's kind of it's a problem. It's a problem. But who do we have? We had Kelly McDonald.
Yeah.
Who is
Merida.
She from?
She's Merida in Brave.
Brave, yes.
Yeah. No, she's Princess Merida. That's like the big one that I knew right off the top of my head. She is also actually in Trainspotting with Ewan McGregor.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. There was another one. Is it Numa? Is that who that was? The bartender lady.
Oh, the attendant.
The attendant who
who
again
that?
another comedy scene where
Yeah.
they're pulling up and like the oil spills everywhere, and she's like, "We need a maintenance crew," I think, and just her lip curl and the face that she makes. I was like, "Oh, this lady's gonna be a problem." It's Julianne Emery is her name.
Yeah.
And she was in Better Call Saul and Fargo.
And then
and Preacher. She was also
we
in most
had
of Preacher.
A fabulous voice appearance from Patrick Seitz in there.
Oh, the Cthulhups.
Yeah, so Patrick Seitz, Scorpion from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, he does a lot of video game stuff.
He does a lot of video game stuff. He also does a lot of anime voice acting, which is
I did notice
how I ended up meeting him a few years ago.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah. He's Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Huh.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, he's a whole bunch of characters all over, like Naruto and One Piece and
everyone.
Like,
yeah.
Speaking of naming things in Star Wars, how do you come up with the name Cthulhups? It's like
you take Cthulhu and scallops.
And
scallops.
Yep.
Scallops.
I don't know.
I'm just going based
Cthulhu
off
Phillips.
of. I'm just Lou Phillips. No, just going off of the way it was spelled in the captions. Cthulhu scallops.
Hey, when I tried to Google the name, it did. First thing it came up. Did you mean scallops?
No, I did not. This is Star Wars.
Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, lots of cameos coming on in this show, and I feel like we're gonna get more cameos as the series goes on, and we'll probably get. I'm still holding out hope for Hondo.
You want a really fun, really obscure cameo?
Yes.
It's not a person. Captain Renaud's insignia.
Oh, it's a Nile.
Not quite. It's Sith.
Is
Bull
it?
money, like the text
The like the runes on the wall that KB can't read.
Oh,
forbidden language.
It's
Talking about-
Ur-Kitat.
Oh,
It's a Sith language.
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know
I
what
did
it means?
Oh, there's not anything like I don't think there's an analysis like breaking down the whole thing, but it's just like somebody had pointed out that
Interesting.
his insignia looked a lot like a Sith symbol, and someone else, and so then like there's a whole article about it.
There was another person that pointed out that his insignia, the two squiggly lines,
Mm-hmm.
looked like the old. It's the High Republic like path, the path hand.
Oh,
It's like 3 squiggly lines, but his was 2,
Mhm.
and there was some correlation between him and the nihilists. Is that what they're called?
The Nihil.
Nihil. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, and we
And,
talked
yeah.
like the first episode about how the cloud around at Atten was reminiscent of
Right.
the Nihil's storm tech that they used to hide their base. So
Right. And then you look at the lightsaber that they had at the end of this episode, and it was a gold and silver.
It
was
was
very
very
reminiscent
Republic.
of
Oh yeah.
very High Republic stuff. So
Very High Republic.
I think Disney's really banking on their High Republic stuff right now. And it seems like they're doing the same thing kind of in here. I'm wondering if the currency that they're making, because we found out that Atten is an Old Republic mint. Is it an Old Republic mint or a High Republic mint?
I think it's a High Republic, man.
Because it seems like those coins are worth a shit ton of money.
Exactly.
And like I don't feel like Old Republic credits would be worth as much as like, it's like when you look at, I mean, I watch a lot of Pawn Stars, and like when those guys are buying coins from like old Romanian times or old Greek coins and stuff, they're worth a shit ton of money. Right? So you kind of look at it the same way. Laugh at me all you want, Phil, but
I'm just chuckling at old Romanian times.
well,
mean
it's
old
all
Roman?
terrible. Whatever, Roman times, whatever.
Okay, I'm just
Damn
checking.
you librarians and you English majors. But no, I like to think that it's High Republic and that all of these people are stuck in High Republic times, and that's kind of where we're at, which is cool. And I'm excited for more. I am excited for more.
I mean, it just sort of makes sense to me with the how the droids are fashioned, sort of like High Republic comics. That, and then I feel like, and this is
The colors are brighter.
yeah, and they're all white and gold, just like the High Republic robes and everything.
Yeah.
And then this may be alluding a little bit to one of the talking points, but it's definitely High Republic seemed to be more based upon automated or droid controlled societies.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like from what I've read in High Republic, they utilize droids a lot more.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, I think Disney's really banking on their High Republic stuff, and we're going to see that come into play more than anything else. Like, how funny would it be if they connected this with the Acolyte?
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
People would be so upset.
That's freaking hilarious. I hope they do it now.
Oh yeah, me too. Like that lightsaber is what's his name? Saber. The main character from Acolyte.
Oh,
Donnie, that's not Donnie Yen. I know who you're talking about.
yeah.
It eludes me. It's gone.
Soul.
Soul. Yeah. Be funny if it was Soul's lightsaber. He's just traveling around that planet looking for treasure, and he just finds this random ass lightsaber in the middle of a forest with a bunch of dead Jedi. Don't mind if I do.
This looks pretty. I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah.
I think our timelines are not aligning there, but I do like the idea.
Yeah, no, they're not, but still, it'd be funny. Let's see. So, what else? What else? What else? What else? We're moving along quite nicely. I feel like we're getting pretty close to segments. I would assume. Last thing before we get into those segments, because I think we're gonna cover most everything else in segments. Last thing I wanted to cover was the challenge at the end. Kind of a turn of events, and this also, wow, this is actually gonna start off one of the segments. So I'm gonna mention the challenge, and then I'm gonna play the bumper. It's Grogu eggs, just like Easter eggs, but Grogu eggs. So in this segment, we talk about our favorite Easter eggs, Grogu eggs from each episode. I got to make that stick somehow. Anyway, the challenge, right? It's a betrayal of sorts, and
But also very pirate.
very piratey. Yes,
The pirate democracy.
According
Yeah.
to the code.
yeah. And I kind of had two Grogu eggs, and one of them had to do with this challenge. So before I tell you where I connected this, and it has, this is just my brain that goes here. Nobody else's brain would ever go to this reference. But it was definitely kind of a scary moment, right? Because Jod really, you're like, holy shit, he's like serious. And I think the kids really, the acting in this was perfect from those kids. I mean, KB was like crying, and Win was like trying to be heroic and then fucking up.
I love that.
That was amazing.
And Neil is just like, can we all just hug each other, please? Like, it was just,
I'm
it
sorry.
was such a perfect scene for Jod to really show his true colors, I guess, and take over and betray them. And for some reason, I don't know why I went here, but it reminded me so much of the movie Titan AE.
Love it. Love that
Do
movie.
you remember that movie?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
It is one of my absolute all-time favorites. And it's Matt Damon, Drew Barrymore.
Matt Damon.
I think there was I think a Baldwin was in this one, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure, but it's one of those movies that I wish they would make a live-action remake of with Matt Damon and other actors. But it's just the betrayal at the end. At the end of Titan AE, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, pause right now and skip ahead a minute and then come back. But the betrayal at the end of Titan AE
Was sudden
very-
but inevitable.
there you go. Yeah, that's funny. But like you trusted that guy the whole movie. You're like, yeah, he's actually a good guy. Like I remember being a kid and like really being like, oh yeah, he's gonna help them. He's gonna blah 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 blah. And then when he turns on him, it was gut wrenching. And I feel like this is the same way. Like this betrayal of Jod was just as gut wrenching for me as an adult as that was as a kid in Titan AE, where I'm like, oh my god, but they trusted him so much, and like he was supposed to help them, and I don't know what it is, but the second it happened, I was like, oh my god, this is kind of cool. So my other Grogu egg was the Huts from the mud pits. That was a really fun scene for me.
It was funny too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Again.
And what does he mean by not again? Was he eaten before and then pooped out and then like just got back to work? Is that just what happens with those creatures?
what happens on Lanupa stays on Lanupa.
Are they not digestible? Like it's just a yummy snack for a hut?
Apparently.
It's like corn. It's like the space equivalent of corn. It just doesn't break down. It comes out whole again.
Eat it more time.
Because the not again thing was weird. What do you mean not again? It sounds like
And
this has
that-
happened more than twice.
And that is what makes it funny. That's the humor right there.
Fair.
Not just an oh no, but just a not again.
Yeah. Justin, your Grogu eggs are pretty fun this week. Why don't you give us your Grogu eggs?
Oh man, mine's more dialogue heavy, just with how the series have been bringing back the word wizard for awesome, great, grand, cool. I love it. It's fucking wizard. But the other one I noticed was Slimo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
I believe called Dash, according to her, a Slimo. Not to trust him. And then in episode 1, when Anakin is racing, I believe, he yells some Hativ at Sebulba and calls him a Slimo at the end. Or,
Cheska Dupont Slimo.
right?
Scoony Dopot Slimo. I think that's what he says.
Yeah.
Like I love seeing that old
That's
tie-in
right.
to
It's
the old
Cheska.
the
Careful,
language
Sebulba.
of the
Cheska.
other episodes.
Yeah. They've been doing that more and more too, where they bring in those old old slang terms or whatever, old Star Wars slang.
Mm-hmm. I say keep on bringing it. See if I
Yeah.
can pick up on them.
Yeah, I love it. Slimo, this is funny. This is perfect because not only does Slimo tie into Phil's Grogu egg, but it also ties in to Phil's Boba's bounty.
He's no good to me dead.
He will not be permanently damaged.
So Boba's bounty is the part of the episode where we talk about our favorite new character or thing, ship, planet, anything that has been introduced into this week's episode of Star Wars. And Phil this week can actually combine his Grogu egg with his Boba's bounty. So let's do that. What?
So, my Boba's bounty this week is Pocket, our bounty hunter. As we discussed, she's being played by Kelly MacDonald, probably best known to a lot of the kids in the audience as Princess Merida from Brave. I love everything about the character's appearance. She reminds me of like sun-bleached Aura Singh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The contact lenses are spectacular just for the eye effects. I love it.
Right.
But she also recognizes Jod. She knows him, calls him by a different name. I think y'all were saying we were up to like 5 different names for him right now.
Yeah, Dash Zenton is the new
yeah,
name.
Dash Zenton.
She said Dash, and my head went to Rendar, and I was like,
Oh,
she's gonna say
right. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that would have been fun. It's a nice nod. That's a nice little Easter egg in and of itself.
Yeah.
But as she's talking to him, she says, you know, she's aware that there's probably a bounty on him, but that she hasn't checked the pucks.
Yeah.
And if you've seen Mandalorian, which I mean we have, the Bounty Hunters Guild uses these little bounty pucks that are a little data disk that contains information about a bounty, a picture, any kind of information on their whereabouts, anything like that. Those data pucks are what are used by Bounty Hunters Guild members to track their quarry. And it was such a fun little throwback to just that first season of Mandalorian. So not that far back, but far enough back that it's, I think it's actually the first time it's been referenced outside of Mandalorian. So
Absolutely. They might have had pucks in the Jedi Fallen Order game.
mm-hmm.
I think there were pucks in Survivor.
Yeah,
If I'm not mistaken, you could do that, but that was the only other time that I've ever noticed it being mentioned.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love that. That whole scene was fun. It was a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of callback too.
Yeah.
Oh, you ditched me on whatever planet.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No,
No, but excellent pick for your Boba's Bounty. Justin, your Boba's Bounty is also pretty fun. It's what we talked about earlier, Mr. Cthulhups. I had to brighten this
oh, I'm glad you
lot.
did.
So
Well,
it's
because
actually
now you can see the towel he's wearing.
I know.
yeah.
So after they dropped his name, and I, of course, always have subtitles on because my hearing's shit. The whole time, I'm like Cthulhu, but he looks like a Lorax. This character is freaking awesome.
He does look like a Lorax, doesn't he?
Shove. He does. He really, really does with the mustache thing and like sort of like a walrus.
Yeah.
But, like towards push come to shove, a little development after you first meet him, he just likes a good story, man. He's there
Right.
to hang out and listen and learn. And then
That's all he wanted.
So badass. He takes his big old tentacle and then pow breaks the seal and helps us get in.
So
it was going to be a bad guy. He was not. He is obviously someone who's freaking awesome.
He was terrifying at first.
Oh,
for sure.
He does also with the brightened lighting. He actually does look kind of like Patrick Seitz, which is just hilarious.
He does with the goatee and everything.
Yeah,
that's funny. Holy cow! And the towel gets me, dude. The towel on top of his head,
right?
Like that's a massive towel. Where do you even get something like that? The towel is bigger than my house.
It makes me wonder what's underneath it. Does he have hair?
Dude, it's a bunch of tentacles wrapped
flowing.
Up. Oh, I love it.
He's just a fun character.
He is.
Yeah, he was a good addition, and I hope we see more for sure.
Oh, me too.
My Boba's Bounty was actually Darth Plagueis' cousins, the Muns. A whole plethora of Muns up here in these mud pits.
Station.
I love the. Oh my gosh, where are Muns from? What's the planet that the Muns are from?
Munalist.
No, dude, it's not. That's not it.
Munville?
Scipio. That's what it is. And when Jod gets called out, when they're like on the the security guards come up and they're like, Dr. whatever, Dr. Persephorus, and he's like, yeah, that's me.
Gorlox.
And he's like, Gorlox, yeah. And he's like, Dr. Gorlox from Scipio? And then Jod's like, shit. Because Muns are from Scipio, and clearly Jod does not look like a Mun. And so, yeah, good times. It was a good time. And I really liked seeing them just kind of in the open, because we don't see a lot of them. I think we saw a Mun in, episode 2 was the last time we really saw one.
The banking clan.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen one treaty outside of that. So it was cool to just get that little thing there. Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for participating in the Boba's Bounty for this week and the Grogu eggs. I really like that segment. I think as Star Wars has grown and the Disney has learned that people are just there for the callbacks. There's just so many Grogu eggs now that we got to just keep that segment going. So one segment that we've kept going for every season that we've ever done. Yeah, literally, since
Since Book of Boba Fett.
We've done this. That's the same font that I used back. I need to update that bumper. But Starlight Killer Scene is the part of the episode where we talk about our favorite still shot from each episode. And this week we're going to start with Justin, which comes in at the 38-minute and 52-second mark. Go ahead and tell us about this scene here.
Oh, it's pretty much the ending of the episode, but we talked about it. Like, my emotions were high. We just found out that Jod betrayed them by calling out the pirates code, and when he grabs the lightsaber with the force pull off the ground, I believe it's the audio changes very dark. It gets super dark as soon as he grabs it midair, and then you're like, "Oh shit, this guy actually means it." I thought it was just like messing around and just gonna be fooling the kids just so that Smee listens to him and they could do what he wants. No, he betrayed them and he meant it. And then going back to what I was trying to earlier, like the whole time I'm like, oh. The attachment quotes that he dropped by Qui-Gon, it has to be he has to be light side. And then I remembered texting or the thread to Josh. I'm like, oh shit, maybe he's Sith after all. Just because of the music change and how dark it got.
Well, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean he's a Sith though, because Force users can pull from both light and dark.
Yeah, Balin School.
And exactly. So at this moment, he could be pulling from the dark side, using his anger to pull the lightsaber close to him. And when he was talking to Win, he could have been, using more light side and more of a lighthearted focus to pull the pad back up to Wim. You know what I mean? Like, he could be pulling from both ends of the spectrum. And that could be why he's a pirate instead of a Jedi or a Sith.
So
he likes to pull from both.
We may be seeing our first new canon Gray Jedi.
Shut up. No way.
Man, you keep saying Hondo's going to show up. So let me have this.
This is the show. This is the show. If there was ever a show for Hondo to show up in, and I know I said this for Ahsoka, but no, dude, this is the show. Like, look, what just happened in the show? All of those pirates just got murdered, right? They all got killed. All of dude's best pirates and hunters got killed. Who's he gonna call? Who are you gonna call to bring him in, right? It's not gonna be Mandalorian because he's at the moment not doing bounties. So it's gonna be Hondo Ohnaka. Because
I think they're just gonna bump into him. Hondo is not a bounty hunter like you with the way you want him.
No, he's a pirate though. He's a pirate,
and that's why
they would use him.
They're just gonna cross paths, and then Hondo's gonna betray him.
I hope so.
Get the ship again. Hondo Ohnaka.
Yeah, it'd be so awesome.
But I almost did the scene where Wim ignites the lightsaber upside down. I almost did.
Oh well, if we're on that. We're on that. Then my Starlight Killer scene comes into the 37-minute and 45-second mark, which is when Wim ignites the lightsaber and almost got his foot off.
He was so excited. He was so stoked.
Man. This is by far one of the best still shots of any Star Wars in a long time. I mean, and it's just the sheer comedic value of this scene when he ignites it and just goes, ah! Just because he has no idea, no clue what end the beam comes out of. Like, dude, and he could have really hurt. Like, this is the joke of so many people too that have been like, well, what if you turn it on upside down or whatever? Like, what if Luke turned it on when he was looking down the barrel of a lightsaber? You know, it's kind of that same concept, and I love that they pulled it off. They pulled it off really well. Especially because John was, you could see it in his face a little bit. He was like, "Oh shit, that's a lightsaber! Like this is kind of bad."
Yeah.
He rolls his eyes like,
I mean, Wim
what was
knows.
I?
Wim knows exactly what he found.
Yeah, but he has no idea how to use it.
Yeah.
And see,
That it
hindsight,
even actually has functioning power cells still.
see in
Well, I mean,
hindsight, when Jod's like, no, that's dangerous. I think he was talking about how he had it upside down, pointed towards his crotch.
absolutely, he knew, and then he rolled his eyes after he did it because he's like, "Of course, he can't. That's not gonna work." Yeah, so that was.
I'm
I
so
had
glad.
to.
So
I had
glad
to
you
get that
chose
still
this.
shot. Yeah, man, it's definitely one of my favorite scenes or pictures. I could frame that and put it on my wall. I love that picture so much. In fact, I might put that on a freaking t-shirt, dude. Like I think, yeah, man, if I could brighten that up a little bit and just
the
throw him
isolated
on a
shot of him with the
Yeah, throw him
lightsaber
on a-
upside down.
on a pink dinosaur, and he just is. Yeah, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna throw that on a t-shirt. Hit up the Quest Me store that exists after I make that shirt.
Be sure you get yours ordered before the cease and desist orders hit, kids.
I'll change his hair color. It'll be like blonde instead of brown. I'll change the color of the lightsaber to yellow. It'll be fine. But that was my Starlight Killer scene. So moving on to Phil's Starlight Killer scene, which is kind of in the realm of the same area. It's at the 31-minute and 40-second mark. We all picked ours within the last 6 minutes of this episode, so that's fun. But tell us about this shot, Phil.
It's the treasure room reveal. It is such a classic for this genre. You know, whether it's Indiana Jones or The Mummy or The End of National Treasure or The Goonies, you know, any of those movies where there's this big, you know, grand treasure being sought after, when you actually get the reveal, it's spectacular. You know, everything arrayed around the big skull throne. It's amazing. And the key, the musical cues for this were very, very Indiana Jones.
Yeah, very treasure room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like the reveal. The mask, where the mask kind of like, from what I was hearing from other people, it's a Nihil, like.
Oh well, yeah. So
callback.
the Nihil in the books, the Nihil are known for wearing gas masks when they do their raids. They're also like drugged up and listening to like ridiculously loud music the whole time they're doing their raids.
So
too.
awesome! That's so awesome. That is metal as fuck, dude.
Yeah, but actually, no. The Captain Silva's mask at the very beginning of the first episode actually also made me think of the Nile, because masked pirates going around. But yeah,
Dude,
this was just a fun shot. The classic treasure room reveal, and the best part is knowing that this even isn't actually the final treasure that this whole adventure is going after. Because
this is just a piece of it.
This is where they go just to find the coordinates to get back to At-Aten.
Yeah. And what a treasure room that is. There's a ton of shit in there.
See, I
don't even care.
I paused it on this scene for like 5 minutes trying to look at individual things for other Easter eggs, and I couldn't pick anything out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of just obscure references. I bet if you were able to walk around this room physically, you would find all sorts of Easter eggs. You know, like
probably when
they
leftover property use. I mean,
right. Well, like when they come out with the making of this show, I bet there'll be a scene where they're just pointing out all
the different random shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when in Loki, when they started breaking down that and that guy's room where they showed his Indiana Jones hat. What's his name? The guy, he was in Indiana. He was a kid in Indiana Jones.
You're talking about Ki-Hee Kwan's character.
Yes, thank you.
Ouroboros.
Thank you, Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Jones. Yeah. But there was an Indiana Jones hat in Ouroboros's office, and then a couple other little references that they talked about.
and
afterwards.
he was also Data in the Goonies.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
How funny. That's good. Excellent picks, though, guys.
Thank you.
I think those were probably the best ones so far. I would have to agree with myself. And that's it for those segments. Did you guys have any other things you wanted to touch on before we went into our final segment and end the show?
quick notes. I loved Wim just like sitting there reading stories. When he was depressed, he like went off to go do his own thing.
When he gets anxious, he like stress reads.
The walkie-talkies coming back into play.
Oh my goodness. Jedi 1 and Jedi 2.
Very, very 80s. Just with the giant oversized walkie-talkies.
Cathalovs just wants us to tell him stories. Over. Copy.
Appears to be acid, Captain.
And then dips his toe.
Yeah. It's just, I love that Gunter and the rest of Bruce's teams that he sent just shoot down the Lanupa like escort guys coming in to tell them about their policies. They're like, no, just blow them out of the sky.
Yeah, and what a man! You really got to see that death or the that booby trap too.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think we were actually gonna see it.
With the
and then
gravity
surprise, there he goes, and they made that like squelching noise too. That's like
The flesh.
yeah.
And then Smee had some great bits in this, but the whole what's a concubine? That's enough story time for now.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last note I have is the whole the honorable elders thing, the great elders bit, that being from the brat trick system.
Brat trick, yeah, because they're little brats
playing a trick. It's just like that is
so good,
just jaw riffing.
And I love how it backfired on him later when the Lanupa guard was like, "Back away from the wise elders."
We're not elders, we're kids.
Yeah, he's like,
well, then you're
all under arrest.
And KB getting her moment with the wrench.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
That was spectacular too.
I did like that a lot.
Yeah, just a lot of great moments.
Speaking of 80s, what an 80s moment, like a kid-friendly moment there where they spray mud on the dude and he falls. Even does the whole music where he wipes the mud off his face. I'll get you. Basically, it was good.
It's Biff getting manure, getting coated in manure in Back to the Future.
Exactly. It was good. Justin, did you have any final notes?
I really like how it's giving us little tidbits of what's going on at home and well, that's hard. But I feel like it'll keep doing that. Start the next episode with a 5-minute little give you more, and then go back to the action of the skeleton crew. That's what I'm really appreciating right now.
Well, we're on episode 5 of 8, so there's only 3 episodes to go. I'm gonna assume we're gonna get more action on at Atten here soon. We're gonna get more from the parents. In the next couple episodes, we'll probably see more of that story. I actually wouldn't even be surprised if we saw like a mostly parental at Atten episode this next week.
Mm-hmm.
Just leaving us
some of the gaps.
Right, and to leave us in suspense of where did the kids go and what's going on with Jod, and it would, I don't know. We got to see more though from the parents, and the little like 3 to 5 minute clips are great, but there's a lot that they have to do over on at Atten before the kids even show back up. I feel like so.
True.
We'll see, but let's move into our final segment. which as always is the Tuscan Raider, where we rate each episode out of 10. So, Justin, let's start with you. What are you going to rate episode 5 of Skeleton Crew?
Since this was my favorite episode thus far for being adventurous, good music, awesome booby traps, a pirate adventure, I give it a 9.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to give it the 10. I was like, oh, shoot, he going for it. No.
I saw you getting close. No, not yet.
Phil, what
For
about you?
those of you listening at home, Josh was inching eerily close to his camera during that last discussion. I gotta agree with Justin on this one. I gotta give it a 9. It was like I do think there's room for more. I wouldn't even say improvement necessarily, but just if they stick the landing, then that conclusion is going to get a 10. Right now, though, for kicking off from the midpoint and launching us into the second half of the series, absolutely spectacular. Very strong, good episode, good humor. Smee breaking out of the ropes immediately after they, it's just, it was fun. Yeah, definitely 9.
All right, and I'm actually a little different on this one. I'm giving this an 8, and I love the episode and everything. I just want these things to be longer. Why can't we have longer episodes? What is the deal with this? Like if we're gonna have episodes that are 25 to 35 minutes long, just make the movie. Just make a movie, one solid movie, and release it.
You're not wrong.
But again, it's the pacing I would expect from a show targeted at a younger audience. So
right, and that's fair, and that's why I'm giving it an 8 and not a 6, because I'm telling you, when we get into more Ahsoka and more Andor and stuff, if we're getting 25 to 30-minute episodes for those, I'm gonna be really disappointed, because there's so much more room for storytelling in this universe and in these series. Like, I mean, I'm always doing this. I'm always referencing Star Trek, but look at Star Trek and look at their seasons and their shows that they're doing. Yes, of course, that series is made a little bit more. It's targeted a little bit more for adults, so they have room for that kind of stuff. But I still think that Star Wars is a more adult-driven series that, yes, kids are getting more and more into, but we gotta have longer episodes. We gotta have longer, bigger stories, because this is a very small story. The closer we get to the end of this, the more you got to realize, it's a very tiny story. They went. If you put it in a movie form, it's going to be a 2-hour long movie, 2.5 hours. And that's a normal length for movies nowadays. So that's my biggest complaint, I think, about Star Wars as a whole. And that's why I'm not docking Skeleton Crew for it, because it's not just Skeleton Crew. It's everything. There were some Ahsoka episodes that were 22 minutes long, and that's unacceptable. So I just really hope that as Star Wars continues and they continue to do their little focus groups and whatever, I hope that they start to give us longer seasons and just broader stories, with more meat, more to invest in.
Hey, yeah. Josh, Andor's around the corner. Just wait.
I know, and
that's your meat. That's the story driven you want.
Yeah, and Andor's a lot more episodes. I think it's 14 or 16 episodes or something like that. But that worries me even more, because that means it's going to be 16 25-minute episodes.
So negative. Maybe not.
And instead of 2 movies, it's going to be just that. So, and don't get me wrong, I am stoked for Andor. Like that's our next series, our next season that we cover on Quest Me is going to be Andor, and that's going to be incredible. I'm already looking ahead and planning for that. I'm trying to get some guests lined up, you know. So, speaking of that, I think is it next week that Q's going to come?
I think the week after.
Okay.
So not for episode 6, but for talking to episode 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. I
Yeah.
believe that next week is going to be Jesse from Crusher Convo. I believe. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to confirm with that, but
Yeah.
we will have
in the next couple of weeks.
we're going to have some guests on. So,
Nice. That's good. I'm sick of you too.
I know, right? I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
No, this week was great. It was a great episode. I'm excited for the last 3 episodes of Skeleton Crew, and I'm happy that this show has been good. It's been better than I expected, and I think that's great. It's like the Broncos. I keep wearing my Broncos hat. It's better than we expected, and it's wonderful.
If your expectations are here, you'll never be disappointed.
Exactly. So anyway, that is going to do it for us this week on Quest Me. Thanks to the people that popped in and hung out for a little bit, and thanks to all of you guys listening at home. I've noticed there's been a few more listeners out there, so thank you guys for hanging out and doing that thing. Join us on the live shows. We normally do it every Sunday at 9 Central, 8 Mountain Time. This week was a little different because poor Justin was a little sick, so we postponed till today so Justin could feel a little bit better, and he seems to be doing a little bit better.
It's helpful when conducting a podcast to have people who are able to,
to speak. Yeah, exactly.
Salt water that's warm is my best friend right now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you can get to feeling tip-top by, the next couple days. And I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you guys all again for hanging out, listening. And yeah, that's going to do it. As always, I am your host.
And I'm Justin.
And I'm Phil.
And my name is Josh. And we're going to talk to you next week. May the Force be with you. Good.